Hello Year 9, I hope your Easter holidays are going well, and hopefully mine are going to start after this video. However, just a quick video for you to use the mind map that I created for you, the map that you have taken down into your textbooks, into your workbooks today, and that should help support all of the information that you need to include this in this video, from soils to upland landscapes to slavery, colonization, so on and so forth. So the question, we're just going to bug it very quickly. Reminder that bug stands for box, the command word, and our command word here is discuss. We need to give two sides of an argument, and the argument is the one in the quotation marks here. So there's going to be two very obvious sides, history or geography, or both. Underline the key words. So history, geography offer a better explanation of the development gap, and then we discuss this in reference to global locations. So these are all of the things that we need to look at. In terms of breaking this question up using your mind map, history, we look at slavery, we look at colonization, and we look at war. Whereas when we look at geography, we can actually consider all three of these as forms of geography, because as being if affected by geography. So I'll link that into what we're going to look at now. But for geography, we're looking at the soils that we have access to, the landscape itself, if it's an upland or a lowland area, if it's flat or if it's jagged land, and then when it comes to the population, how many people live there, people of what culture, of what race, etc., etc. And there was one more, and it's escaped my mind for some reason, and hopefully it will come back to me. But these are things that actually, natural resources. So the resources that you have access to that naturally occur in your territory, in your location. So these things happened as a result of these things. So, for example, a country decided to colonize somewhere because the country that was the place that went over to this country to take things from it, maybe it didn't have the soils that it needed to produce enough food for its population, so it went to a place that did have lots of good soils. Maybe it went to this place for the natural resources, which is the more popular reason. Things like gold, things like oil, coal, etc. These are things that people still have wars over today, but in the past colonized and took control of in order to make money, in order to grow their population and make themselves have a more comfortable life. So commodities that were taken from these places. And then the landscape itself, was the place suitable for the let's say empires? Did they have enough land so that they could grow their population and have as many people and lots of people to go to war for them as a result of? Maybe not. So maybe they went to a place which had a large area that they could that they could take people from, put them into slavery, fight for them. And then again, maybe their population wasn't so big that they could expand to different places around the world. So instead of trying to fit a lot of people in their country, maybe they went and took over another country. Maybe they colonized a place or invaded it and took control of it in order to have a greater supply of a population around the world that supported them, that would do things for them. Okay? Right, so when it comes to answering the question, we're going to have a link sentence. So in our link sentence could be that it would be questionable to argue that only history or geography that only one of these two things is responsible for the development gap. And we're going to highlight here, with some of our knowledge, that the development gap is between advanced countries like, let's say, Rwanda. Advanced countries like the UK, and low income and developing countries like Rwanda. So we're going to come down now and we're going to highlight where this is an obvious concern for us, just considering one of these things to be the reason. So let's focus first of all on geography. So geography, and I'm not going to write full sentences, but first of all we can say that yes, soils can be seen as a reason for populations and cultures to grow. However, we could also say that some countries, on the other hand, like Iceland, for example, and Iceland is a great example of a country that has been limited by its soils, has still become an advanced country, a very wealthy country, for a significant period of time, despite not having an empire to take over places. So some countries, like Iceland, have poor quality soils. You could also say that their geography is ridden with things like volcanic eruptions happening from day to day, and also it's got a relatively small population. Population is quite limited. I'm just going to highlight up here that population can be mentioned, that natural resources can be mentioned as a way to support the growth of a place. So this allows places to grow, allows places to develop, to become wealthy. But for places like Iceland, this has not been the case. They have had to learn and develop and become a very, very tight community in order for them to grow. But this has been the case. They have developed around tourism, on renewable energy, as well as things like fishing for their food, as a food supply. What we can also highlight is that sometimes the natural resources link in with history to an extent. So conversely, some countries that have a lot of natural resources, for example oil, coal, gas, they've been taken advantage of, have been colonized. And an example of that could be Zambia and its copper, which we will look at in very, very good detail. So there's no reason for us not to include it. So then we go on and we have some form of kind of analysis here, and we're going to say, as a result, it is clear that without, let's say, colonization, without slavery, without war for natural resources, some countries might have actually developed more. So if they hadn't had those natural resources, maybe they could have developed. Maybe they wouldn't have been taken control of by a colony, by a colonizer like the UK or like Spain or like France. Maybe they weren't attacked by a place like Russia because Russia didn't have any reason to go into that country. So that is where we need to have our paragraph link sentence. So this is a paragraph 1 that you should be writing. I expect you to go and do the same thing for paragraph 2, which would be focused on history. That you will discuss in your opening sentence, in your point, the idea of history. In your development of that and your use of examples, you can refer to countries that have been colonized, but that they would have links to the concept of geography. So for example, countries that had had mainly upland landscapes. The UK has a lot of upland landscape. If it weren't for that, they might not have had the desire as early on to go and colonize an African country. So despite what we know about countries developing very quickly because they've got a flat landscape, they can still develop quickly because of having a lowland landscape, but also they might go and colonize as a result of that. So there is a mixture of the two factors, and that's the kind of point that we need to make in our other paragraph. So paragraph 2 is going to be about history. It's going to be about colonization. It's going to be about war. It's going to be about slavery, but it's also going to link in the concept of slaves being taken in order to kind of be responsible to wealthy populations. Colonization is happening to supply resources and food to the country that's taking control of it. And then wars, they occur because of resources, for land, for good soils. Space as well is a very important part of that. So again, this is how we link in the idea of geography to history. So you're going to answer that question. Again, of course, at the very end of it, you will have a assessment or a conclusion. And you will tell us what you think, I believe. And you give us your opinion. I think that there is a huge impact from geography on the way that countries develop. However, there is also an extent of history having an impact, and if this event did not happen, colonization did not happen, this country might have developed very, very well. If this country didn't have natural resources like copper, which China wanted, maybe Zambia might have developed a little bit quicker, or not. Good luck with that question, and make sure you answer it